We're now a few days into what a Miami Hurricane staffer described as 10 days of madness in recruiting. What kinds of twists and turns is the next week going to hold?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We made it. I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So when we talk about 10 days of madness, we referred to what Dennis Smith, D-Train, started to bring up all these X posts. And of course, D-Train he's the second most powerful man on the X app behind Elon Musk. He's got every Hurricanes fan on the puppet strings. And he started to talk about 10 days of madness, which leads up to the DJ Pickett announcement on the 17th of July, Jarquez Carter on the 18th, Jaboree Antoine on the 20th, and Fernell Brown the 3rd on the 21st, although I don't think Miami's getting Fernell Brown, but I'd love to be pleasantly surprised about that. So, you know, we're a few days into this 10 days of madness, and anytime we're talking madness, we have to bring on our pal, the truth teller, Bruce Warner. Bruce, how nervous, how excited are you feeling heading into what should be a busy week next week?
Well, I mean, I just heard you say we're not getting Brown, so why would I be nervous? You know, you got all the answers. You're the answer man, not me. You're the answer man. I'm just the truth teller. Listen, I think. Well, I said the other day I changed my mind. I think we're getting Pickett. I'm not going to express how I know or why I'm saying that, but figure it out. You guys aren't stupid. You've seen me on here for over a year. If I say something like that, I'm not just talking to the sky. But anyway, yeah, I agree with what you said so far. I don't think we're going to get the D tackle either. He's going to probably wind up at Ohio State, right?
Yeah, and by the way, and real quick, we're also on this episode going to answer some questions from Locked On Canes insiders about some of the new potential impact players heading into this upcoming season. Do want to talk about wide receiver recruiting because there are a lot of concerns out there right now about that. We want to talk about the impact, win or lose, of Miami versus Florida on August 31st. But yeah, going back, Bruce, to this 10 days of madness. So I got to give a lot of credit to our recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, who probably saw the episode. Brian was on with us midweek. It was Tuesday, or it was probably Wednesday, or it might have been Tuesday. And Brian, told us, hey, I think Jarquez Carter is actually trending towards Ohio State. And at that time, most of even the Miami insiders still were feeling good about where Miami stood. And then a couple days later, other people are starting to realize Jarquez Carter might be trending to Ohio State. So Brian Smith was ahead of the curve on that one. And so, yeah, I mean, Bruce,
if he goes to Ohio State,
if he goes there,
the curve,
right. That's true. That's true. So I think Miami can go 2 for 4 in this upcoming stretch. And as long as one of those two is DJ Pickett, we're going to be over the moon. Hell, if they go 1 for 4, if that one is DJ Pickett, as long as it's him, we're going to be super excited because
I think they're going to get him and Antoine.
I think so too.
Out of those four, they're going to get those two. And then there's a few now. So, you bring up the topics. I know you said something about wide receiver recruiting, but
we'll get to that later. But I want to focus on this for now. Now, obviously, with DJ Pickett, Bruce, a lot of the national narrative has really been linking him to Oregon. We've had a couple of on-3 RPM predictions this week for the Ducks. Thankfully, neither of those were from Steve Wiltfong, who's the guy who's usually the top guy at on-3 these days. And actually, Wiltfong is the one who's been saying at multiple points he's hearing some momentum that Miami might be the pick for DJ Pickett. So, listen, I can understand certainly why there would be confidence out of Oregon because Bruce, Oregon has been absolutely crushing it in this
Yes, they
recruiting
have.
cycle.
Yes, they have.
Dan Lanning's been doing an incredible job. So there's some confidence from that momentum from Oregon fans. And also, we've heard some of these, rumors out there about what, Oregon may be offering. And there's all these reports about how, Phil Knight, who's the CEO of Nike and the biggest Oregon booster, how he's 86 years old and he wants to do unlimited NIL because he wants to win now, which is all fine and good. But as I've talked about throughout the week, and Bruce, you can, I'm sure, attest to this as well. Obviously, NIL is important for every player, but I don't think that that's the end all be all for DJ. Like, DJ is not approaching this like a money grab. So if he does pick Oregon, and he might, if he does pick Oregon, it's not going to be because of Phil Knight's money or a blank check.
Well, you don't know. You don't know that, and I don't know that. You don't know what the number is. At a certain point in time, anybody could be bought, I guess.
Every man has a price, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming that could be it. But all I'm saying is that I don't know if the money, even if it was a gap, depends on the gap, but I don't think he's going there. And I mean, I could be wrong. Everybody's been jumping on Oregon's bandwagon the last week. But from what I hear, that family is all locked into Miami. I was wrong about that. I said it the other day. It wasn't this Pickett that wasn't a Miami fan. It was Booker's son that wasn't a big Miami fan. The other Pickett.
Now he's a Miami player.
Yeah, now he's a Miami player, but the real Miami fan is still sitting on. We're waiting till the 17th. I just think he's coming.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm reading tea leaves or whatever, but I think
right. Well, and I hope we can lock up the entire Pickett family, because we have Booker Jr. and Booker Jr., by the way, he's going to be, we haven't talked about him probably enough because he wasn't here for spring football, Bruce.
Right.
He enrolled in the summer, so we didn't get to watch him practicing. But my God, I watched him throughout his last couple of years in high school. Once he got on Miami's radar, I watched him in those all-star games. The young man looks unblockable. Like, I think Booker Jr. is going to end up being really good here.
Yeah.
And then there's also the younger son of Booker Sr., Booker Jr.'s brother, Cannon Pickett, who's one of the top offensive linemen in 2026. He loves Miami. Like, Cannon is a huge Miami fan.
Right. I'm not saying he's definitely coming here.
He better.
And I'm not going to say anything about his dad, but I think, because we've had Booker on the show and we love the guy. But I think his kid's coming. I don't even. It's a no-brainer. I mean,
all right. So we're thinking. All right. So we're thinking. And obviously this is. I'm not at a 10 out of 10 confidence on this, but I'm getting closer. I think Miami's going to get DJ Pickett next week. That's on July 17th. He's announcing. So we're what are we 5 days away from that? I had to. People know on this show I'm terrible with dates. I'm terrible with days of the week. But it's Friday the 12th today. I remember a couple weeks ago, I referred to a Thursday as a Friday, and people thought I was losing my marbles. It's Friday the 12th.
So today. It's Wednesday. Is this Wednesday? Is the 17th? Is that right? Oh, you don't know?
I don't know. Yeah,
well,
it should be.
You're good at your recruiting names, and you know their heights and their weights, but you don't know what day the 17th is. Jeez.
Exactly. No, you're right.
How does your wife put up with you? You don't know what the hell's going on.
She doesn't. I'm very spacey. So it's gonna be you're right. Wednesday the 17th. I'm gonna lean to DJ pick in Miami. You agree? Obviously you agree. You just said.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and then on the Thursday the 18th, Jarquez Carter. Who knows? But right now it seems to be Ohio State, so I'm gonna say probably not Jarquez Carter. And then on the 20th, Jaboree Antoine. It's for Jaboree, another top cornerback, by the way, 4-star corner out of New Iberia, Louisiana. He's choosing between LSU, who he just decommitted from. I can't imagine he ends up back there. Florida State. I know Florida State's been trying to make a surge here. And Miami, who's seemed to be probably the trending leader since he decommitted from LSU. So I'm gonna lean Jaboree Antoine to Miami. What about you?
I agree. Although everybody keeps talking about Patrick Surtain, but up in Florida State, but I think the kid wants to be here. I think he's going to be here, and that's going to solidify the secondary as far as I'm concerned between him and Booker Pickett. I think, but Pickett's not playing safety; he's playing corner. So now we have a lot of corners.
Yeah,
a lot of.
And then on the 21st, I'm going to say Vernell Brown picks Florida, even though his quarterback just committed to Miami for 2026, Darian Coleman. I think that for Vernell, Brian Smith told me this, and I heard it a couple of other places. Like, his Florida visit went great. Like, they pulled out all the stops for him. He's a legacy of Florida. And honestly, I think in the case of Vernell Brown, I'm not saying it's impossible Miami could land him, but I think the fact that Vernell is a Florida legacy,
Right.
his commitment to Florida, assuming it happens, would probably be less contingent on Billy Napier keeping his job. Like since Vernell's father went there, even if Napier did get fired, mid-season, he might end up sticking it out there. Depends on who they hired, I guess.
It depends on who they hire. Of course,
yeah.
Alex. If they hire somebody that they like, if it's a splash, which the Gators have been trying to make a splash for the last 20 years, or ever since Tebow left.
We'll try to bring Urban Meyer back, probably.
I don't think they want to get in trouble. No more. They don't need any more legal trouble at that school.
Right.
That guy was a mess. Yeah. Urban liar. What a liar he was. Whatever.
But you overlook a lot of that stuff when somebody is capable of winning multiple national championships, right? Morals become less valuable when someone's a winner. I'm just saying. The guy won two.
But I understand the law. And one of their D linemen who he let back on the team after he got arrested and indicted for reckless disregard for human life. He was shooting bullets from a rifle into a house that was occupied. Jeez. And he put him back on the team. It wouldn't be murder if he killed somebody because he probably didn't intend, but it's manslaughter at the least. Yeah. So he'd be in prison. So whatever happened, I don't know how they got him out of it. Obviously, the Gator lawyers are in tight with the judges. So I'll go on record in saying it. I mean, he had like 40-something arrests in the 2 or 3 years when they were winning the titles, and nothing happened to them. Didn't get anything stripped from them. Nothing happened.
The key phrase was when they were winning the titles. Now,
when they were winning the titles.
Thankfully, Florida's a long way from that right now, but it's going to be a tough game though in the Swamp, August 31st. I want to have a discussion when we come back about what the sentiment about Miami would be if the Hurricanes win that game versus what the narrative would be if they lose. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We are only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure for your second listen, you check out Locked On ACC. I co-host that show with Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. We have a lot of fun talking conference realignment, talking about ACC football previews. I certainly try to give Miami their fair share of the coverage as we head into a very important 2024 season in the ACC. So make sure you make Locked On ACC your second listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we got the truth teller, Bruce Warner, with us. So, Bruce, let me start on the positive end of the spectrum. And, you and I, we're both going to pick Miami to win that game August 31st against the Florida Gators.
We'll see.
We'll see. I thought you said they were going to blow them out, and now you're saying we'll see.
I'm just kidding, Alex. I'm just in one of those moods today. I'm somewhat past the bad part of what happened to me last week, and so I talked about my kid, and that was tough. Here's a picture of my son with one of his idols. I don't know if you could see that, Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci? Oh, I see it there.
He was friendly with Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
And then he was friendly with Adam Sandler, too. Where's that picture?
Dude, that is I see the Sandman. Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, he got to be friends with them. He was friendly with the Bee Gees. So, he had a good life considering how sick he was. But
sure.
So those are my memories, not hospitals and things like that. But anyway, again, thanks to everybody for all their well wishes. I was overwhelmed reading. I read it again yesterday. And it was, oh, my goodness. 50, 60, 70 of you. That was really nice of you. So I appreciate it. And I wrote some people back.
I love seeing the community come together. And of course, for those who may not be up to date on that. Bruce recently had the anniversary of his son's passing 12 years ago, and he also lost his mother last week. So we've been praying for the truth teller and for the truth teller's family. And Bruce, that's why I want to start with the positive here,
Okay,
right?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Miami goes into Gainesville August 31st. It's going to be a very sweaty swamp, 3:30 p.m.
Right.
August. Gainesville doesn't get that sea breeze like we get down here in Southeast Florida. So Miami goes in there, Bruce, and they get the win. Now, you may want to go with the blowout scenario. I just say win the game. I don't care if it's by 1 point or if it's by 1,000,000 points. Just go in there and win the game.
Right.
Win that game to start the season. What would that do for your confidence in this team for the rest of that 2024 season, and also your confidence in Mario Cristobal?
Well, I mean, my original thoughts to all this was they need to win that game so they can keep their recruits coming in. But they've loaded up so much already, and they're not done within the next 10 days that game is not exactly a springboard for losing recruits. It could be if they don't win, but being positive, I'm not that concerned. Now, if we win that game, we were 4-0 last year, and look what happened. I think we're going to be 4-0 this year as well before we get to the ACC games. And then we're going to find out whether or not the coaching issues have been resolved. And when I say coaching issues, I mean all kinds of coaching decisions, timeouts, play calling, preparation, taking knees, which that's never going to go away. But I'm not that worried about it. But you're asking me if we win. I just think it's game one. We got to be focused to go out and win the following week. We can't lay eggs like we've been doing for 20 years. Win a game, lose 2 or 3. No rhyme or reason, no consistency, no energy during the game at times. I want to see them play 12 games this year or more and play at the highest level they can play and take our chances.
And I think on that note, this comes down to a lot more than coaching, because you got to be player led. And I've appreciated, obviously they've got to actually prove it throughout the course of the season, but I've appreciated conversations that I've had with Miami players during the offseason, including a true freshman who has a great head on his shoulders. Bobby Pruitt was telling me that one of their big goals for this coming year is to be a player led team, because coaches can only do so much, Bruce. You can't expect your coaches to be babysitters. The bottom line is you need to be recruiting the right types of alphas and the right types of personalities where these guys all hold each other accountable, because the players cannot allow themselves to be mentally vacationing during some games, as we've seen throughout the year. So a lot of that is going to come down to the locker room.
I'm a little concerned about the defensive lack of cohesiveness, because most of these guys have not played together. With all the new people we have and the backups that we have. The offense, I'm less concerned, except we have a new quarterback, but our talent level is even greater than it was. All the position seems to be stable. And I don't think it matters that Ward's new and Martinez is new. He's a running back. But on defense, we haven't seen any cohesiveness. We haven't seen substitution patterns and so on. So that concerns me greatly. But if we come out and we do smoke the Gators, we have 3 weeks to get ready for the big games, which really are the ACC games for us. I mean, maybe Ball State will give us a game. I don't know.
Maybe USF might be the one that gives us.
Yeah, USF is on the road, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they, they're a team that seems to be on the rise. I don't think they're at our level.
But Alabama last year.
Yeah, that was a weird game, but they did. They almost beat Alabama. So you got to have sleep with one eye open before that game. So all right, on the flip side. God forbid Miami loses to Florida August 31st. Josh Pate from 24/7 Sports talked about the amount of toxicity that's going to come from either losing fan base, whether it's Florida who loses or Miami. It's going to be so much toxicity from those fans. I think it would be, to me, it would be worse for Florida to lose that game, because it's a home game for them, and the rest of their schedule does not get any easier after Miami. And Billy, I think, is much more on the hot seat than Mario is, for certain.
Well, I disagree. I disagree about that portion of it, because I think they're expecting him to get fired with that schedule. I don't think they're going. I don't know if he has to win 6, 7, get into a bowl game. That could be. Yeah. I mean, that could be a hell of a season if they're 6-6 with that schedule. But I think the expectation is he's probably going to lose and he's probably going to get fired. There's no expectation of that for Mario. So if he does
Mm.
lose, and as you say, God forbid, they lose because of his mistakes, he's really going to get it. Is he on the hot seat? Absolutely not. Is he going to get fired? Absolutely not. But if he loses that game, the fan base is going to turn on him. And there's not much that you or me or Gary or anybody else could do to stop it. The floodgates will be open if they lose that game. But it's not that he's on the hot seat. It's just that who wants all that negativity right out of the gate for the first game? It's going to carry
Yeah,
over.
exactly. No
You
doubt
know?
about that. Oh man.
So
Well,
go ahead.
speaking of negativity, I want to talk a little bit about wide receiver recruiting on the other side, and I want to offer, I think, some words of perspective on that. And we have
Okay.
some questions from Locked On Canes insiders about who some new impact players could be this year. So, my friends, you don't want to go anywhere. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I already know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. Guys, we're having so much fun. I know that, yeah, the NBA finals are over. Stanley Cup finals are over. So the sports may not be sportsing the way that you want them to. But guys, we still have baseball. We've got international soccer. We've got Euro 2024 and Copa America finals coming up. Guys, FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And I am leaning to Spain against England in the Euro 2024 final. I did win some money on England in the semifinal. Now I turn over to Spain. This summer, guys, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you so much for making this Friday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. By the way, if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, become a Locked On Canes insider. You can click the link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours with recruiting scoops, breaking news, show updates, questions, and answers. We're about to answer questions from some Locked On Canes insiders. Try it free for 14 days. Click that link below. Become a Locked On Canes insider free for the first 2 weeks. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. Give you a lot of added value on there on the Locked On Canes insiders chat. Bruce Warner, the truth teller, is with us. So Bruce, we get a couple questions here from Dat Dude 239, who says, "Hey, out of this list of players, who do you believe will be impact or at least rotational players this year?" He asked Bobby Washington, Robbie Washington, Isaiah Horton, Shamar Kirk, and Samson Okunlola, the pancake honcho. Now, I think Samson could be a starter,
Right.
if not a starter, at the top offensive lineman off the bench, probably. We could talk about Shamar Kirk, Bruce, because you and I were both incredibly impressed by his spring.
Yeah, I thought when I saw him, when you and I saw him, he was catching every ball, and he was wide open a lot, and he had good, as they talked about him last year when he got here, great after the catch abilities down the field. He's got spin moves, he's quick. I like him a lot, but I don't know if he's going to play that much, and that he kind of falls into my response to the wide receiver recruiting. See, you never really know what's going to happen. Like, I could sit here and say, I'm not that worried if we don't get a blue chip wide receiver. We have enough talent. But what happens if some of these guys like Shamar and some of the other guys that have been here or are here don't get playing time? They could take off where they never used to be able to. So that's where it comes into play, the recruiting. I don't know if we're going to get any of these blue chip 4-star, 5 stars, French. I don't know. I haven't really heard anything positive about some of these guys. I just think we're in the mix for them. So that's a tough question because I'm worried about what happens if people decide to take off.
I got you. I'm going to get to a question in a moment about wide receiver recruiting, but other guys on the list, Isaiah Horton,
Horton,
he might start. He's going to play a lot, whether he starts. Do not worry about Isaiah Horton. He's going
I'm
to
not
play
worried
a
about
lot.
him. Kevin Beard told me he's not there yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah.
And they're working hard with him.
And then with Robbie and Bobby Washington, like they're both in a situation where they're not going to start. Like Bobby's not going to start at linebacker, but he Bruce, every player that I talk to talks about how well he's improving. First of all, how fast he is. And the
Yeah.
crazy, so Bobby and Robbie are twins, but Robbie's a little smaller. He's a receiver, and Bobby's a linebacker. But Bobby's as fast as Robbie is, if not
Yeah.
maybe even faster. Like he's a physical specimen at linebacker. So I would imagine he gets into the rotation because remember, like Miami in their base formation, they start 2 linebackers, but 4 or 5 guys last year got significant playing time. You can expect the same thing to happen this year. And then with Robbie, he's in like the same situation that Shamar Kirk is in, where he's behind some guys at wide receiver, but they need to find ways to get Robbie on the field because he's got game-changing type explosiveness. And also, I'd like to see Robbie get more reps on special teams as a returner this year because that's another area he can change games.
Well, he might, but he's stuck. And you got Chance Robinson who's here now, but he came late. So there's a bunch of these guys, and that's why I'm saying I'm concerned we lose depth if these guys don't play. They'll play, but I think Bobby has a much greater chance of getting more playing time than Robbie does this year.
We'll see. So let's get to wide receiver recruiting because we get this question that says, "Hey, in my opinion, we are very strong at what was our biggest position of need." He's talking about defensive back recruiting, and we are not doing a fantastic job of maintaining the momentum at the other. You can probably guess which 2 positions I'm referring to. He says wide receiver is falling short, and we are deep now at the DB position. If we hit one or both of our big time recruits next week, we will be far overstocked at defensive back. So as far as wide receiver goes, first of all, Bruce, let me say something here that I think adds important perspective. Okay. People are starting to freak out about wide receiver. Miami doesn't have anybody committed right now at receiver. They do have a crystal ball for a receiver that he's an out-of-state kid. So there's kind of
Upshaw kid.
Dalen Upshaw, who actually I like, and he's a 4-star player. But people are like, well, how come we haven't gotten some of these local guys? But at the same time, okay, mid-July, people are freaking out about wide receivers. What was happening, Bruce, a year ago at this time? People were freaking out about missing on every defensive lineman. We're not going to get anybody. And they ended up with the top defensive line class in the country. So let's show a little bit of patience here because Miami's got some irons in the fire for big-time receivers. You shouldn't give up now the same way you shouldn't have given up on the defensive line last year.
Yeah, they're not giving up. That's just something Mario doesn't do. But I'd like to get this French kid in here because he's got the size we're looking for.
Yeah.
And he's got the frame to add weight and be really, really good. He could be like an Andre Johnson. He's just big. Andre was just bigger than everybody. And he was better too. But yeah, I'd like to get him. And some of these people are coming. No more small slot guys. I agree with that. We have a lot of the same types.
I don't think you can necessarily define every guy who's 6 foot or under isn't automatically a slot guy because this Dalen Upshaw, one of the things about him, I think he's 5'11", 6 foot, but he can play on the outside. So I think he's got the potential. And another one we haven't talked about enough here on Locked On Canes because about 2 weeks ago, he decommitted from Ole Miss. Miami is going heavily after 5-star wide receiver Jerome Miles. He's from Utah. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. So he's got pretty good size. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with his recruitment, but Miami is very much going after him. I don't know if he's going to announce anytime soon because he just decommitted in late June from Ole Miss, but that's another one to watch.
What did Brian say about? Did you ask about him?
I didn't ask him about Miles.
What kind of show you running here, man?
Mickey Mouse operation, I guess.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. All right, so let me see. What else do we have here?
Yeah, I won't be thrilled if we don't get any of these guys, but we have enough talent to win this year. But yeah, you can't keep whiffing on this.
We get a question from Andrew from Pennsylvania who says, hey, I hope it doesn't happen, but if the Canes were to miss out on DJ Pickett, do they turn up the heat on Bryce Fitzgerald? He says, how are the Canes targeting big-bodied receivers? We just kind of talked about that. But as far as if Miami if they were to miss out on DJ Pickett but land Jaboree Antoine, they might be all right based on what they've already brought in. You've got Timothy Merritt, Chris Ewald. You've got safeties and nickels, Drake Stubbs and Amari Wallace. So Miami might be all right. I mean, not saying I don't want to turn up the heat on Bryce Fitzgerald because I'm a fan of his, but I don't think they necessarily need to. Even if Miami does miss out on DJ, they're still pretty stacked with defense.
Yeah, they're loaded, but you don't want to lose these kids that are from Florida.
No.
So if we get him, then you could see that the trend of people running out of the state to get away from Miami is diminishing greatly because of what Mario does. So you might not get all of them. It's okay. But look who we've gotten so far. And we may get some of these guys coming in this week or next week. You got to look at the roster. And it's been really only, 24 months, two full years and plus. And look what he's done. Is there 6 players left from Diaz's roster? Wow.
Like that.
Yeah. And these guys are clearly better. We don't know if they're going to win, but they're better.
Yeah. Well, you can't ruin a Friday. It's been a fun show today. Bruce Warner, I can't thank you enough for stopping by multiple times this week. I mean, we have, it's been like
3 times already I've been on this show. I might as well just quit practicing law and do this. But by
the way, I can see what makes you such a good lawyer, because even when certain things you agree with me on, you automatically take the other stance. So you're
Listen,
good.
I learned that a long time ago. My client comes and sits on the opposite side of the desk, and they tell me something about their husband or their wife. I can't take their word for it. I have to challenge them, because otherwise I'd say, okay, fine, we're going to win. But I never say that, because you never know what's going to happen in the courtroom. By the way, there's a couple of people that I'm working on bringing onto the show, of some of whom one's going to be very controversial, but we're not going to talk about any negativity with this guy, because
and by the way, just so people know, I promise it's not Nevin Shapiro. So don't even worry yourself about it. It's not Nevin. We will never bring Nevin Shapiro on the show.
Okay. Well, and you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
He's a pretty controversial figure, but you know what? He's my friend. He's Caesar's best friend. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. So I'm told he's going to be here in 2-3 weeks, and we'll get him on the show. All right. So anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy this. Looks like it's going to pour weather.
Oh, what a wonderful day then.
And hey, it was great doing this. What are we, 7 weeks away from the game? 7 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah.
50 days away.
50 days. Yeah. And it's going to be a busy, and by the way, just so people know, at least the next 2 weeks, if not longer, are going to be super busy on this show, because next week we're going to be closer to the culmination of the 10 days of madness, right? We're going to get midweek. We'll find out about DJ Pickett. And then the week after that, I'm going to be out at the ACC kickoff media days, getting interviews and content. I'm going to hopefully see, I'm pretty sure Cam Ward is going to be out there. They haven't released the full list of players yet, but I have an idea of who's going to be there for Miami, and I believe the starting quarterback will be one of them. Mario's going to be out there, so we'll have interviews and stuff. And everyone, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again Monday on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.